who's actually going to get the most out of a 5-string, multi-scale bass like this, and who would be better off putting their money toward a simpler 4-string. If you're on the fence about spending a premium on a niche instrument, you probably wonder whether the tonal payoff justifies the price tag for a day-to-day gigging job. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The biggest hesitation I've heard from players is the fear of buying a bass that sounds amazing on a demo but turns into a headache when you try to dial in a tone for a live set or a home recording session. In this review, I'll walk through exactly what the Ibanez BTB605MS delivers in a real-world context, where the value truly lies, and the hidden trade-offs that could make you think twice. Multi-scale basses were originally a boutique concept, meant to give each string its own optimal length for tighter tension and clearer low end. That design can be a game-changer for players who spend long hours navigating the subbass range, because the longer scale on the low B reduces flabbiness and keeps note definition intact even when you push the amp hard. The BTB605MS keeps that philosophy but adds a 5-string layout, which is a sweet spot for funk, progressive rock, and metal players who need that extra low note without sacrificing the mid-range bite of a standard 4-string. In a typical rehearsal room, the extended scale means you can slap the low B without the wobbly feel you sometimes get on shorter scales, and fingerstyle players notice a more even response across the fretboard. For studio work, the built-in Ibanez Custom Electronics 3-band EQ gives you enough shaping power to carve out space in a dense mix without reaching for a pedal board. If you're the type who records bass tracks at home and wants to avoid extra gear, that onboard EQ can save a few bucks and a lot of patch cable clutter. What really sets this instrument apart is the combination of the T1 humbucking pickup and the MR5S bridge. The T1 delivers a surprisingly rich, articulate tone that can swing from a warm, vintage-style growl to a modern, high-gain punch, depending on how you set the 3-band control. I've heard players describe the low frequencies as tight and focused, which aligns with the longer scale and stainless steel frets that hold intonation better over time. In a live club setting, that focus translates to a bass line that cuts through the drum bleed without needing excessive compression. The MR5S bridge offers smooth floating tremolo action, but more importantly it locks the string tension consistently, so you won't find yourself retuning after a hard-hit phrase. The neck-through maple/wall construction gives a solid sustain that you can actually feel when you let a note ring on a ballad. It's not just a marketing claim, it's something you notice when you move from a fast, percussive riff to a sustained melodic line. And because the neck shape is the BTB5 profile slightly wider at the nut yet comfortable under the palm, it eases the transition for players used to traditional 5-string necks while still taking advantage of the ergonomic benefits of the multi-scale design. No instrument is perfect, and the BTB605MS has a few practical compromises worth flagging before you hand over a check. First, the price lands it in the upper mid-range of Ibanez's catalog, so if you're a beginner or someone who only needs a bass for casual jam sessions, you might be paying for features you'll never fully exploit. The multi-scale fretboard also introduces a learning curve. The slant can feel odd for players who have never tackled a fan fret layout, and it can take a few weeks of consistent practice to develop the muscle memory needed for clean intonation across all strings. Weight is another consideration. The combination of a 5-string neck-through body and the stainless steel frets adds a bit of heft, which could become noticeable during long gigs or when you're moving the instrument around a lot. Finally, the finish Midnight Arctic Ocean matte looks sleek, but the matte coating can show fingerprints and dust more readily than a glossy finish, meaning you'll need to wipe it down more often if you want it to stay pristine on stage. Those are not deal breakers, but they're the kind of everyday friction points that can affect your overall satisfaction. So, who should click add to cart and who should keep scrolling? If you're a professional or semi-professional bassist who needs that extra low B, spends a lot of time in the studio, or plays genres where note definition in the sub-bass region matters, think progressive metal, modern funk, or any style that leans on aggressive slap technique, the BTB605MS is a solid investment. Its tonal versatility, combined with the ergonomic neck and reliable bridge, means you'll spend more time focusing on performance and less on troubleshooting. On the flip side, if you're just starting out, primarily play acoustic-friendly genres, or have a limited budget, a more conventional 4-string with a standard scale will get you further for less money, and you'll avoid the adjustment period the fan frets demand. In the end, the value of the